These are creepy TikToks that will make you rethink your whole reality.
But when the babysitter hears footsteps upstairs, she can be seen frantically grabbing the kid and running outside to the neighbor's house.
First, you probably noticed that swimming in snake venom isn't very different from swimming in water.
Legend has it they resemble humanoid porcupines in their true form but can shapeshift into anything and vanish at will.
They say if you ever call the Red Room number or answer any incoming calls from it, someone will figure out your physical location.
45 minutes, the girl walked in circles around several blocks until she arrived at a skating park and approached a group of strangers.
2 occupants of the Outlander were killed, and the driver was brought to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
So you be bad, huh? I don't move over for no one. They call me the king of pop.
Woo! I'm back. It's your boy Fittie to the E, and today I got this compilation for you. And trust me when I say this is crazy, so you want to watch it again. And if you guys like the chain, because I know a lot of people have been loving the chain, just check the link down in the description. I've been trying to tell y'all, man. We got multiple customers buying each day. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys like it, please check them out. They're good quality. And let's just jump right into the video.
To anyone who may be triggered by these topics, or anyone who's faint of heart, please keep scrolling. Serial killers from every U.S. state, Part 4. Arkansas. The Phantom Killer. Although this killer was never identified, and actually spanned 2 states, the Phantom Killer earns his spot on the list for the terror he caused in 1946. Every 3 weeks to the day, this murderer would shoot a couple to death in their car. Eventually, movie theaters canceled shows, people stayed inside behind locked doors, and very few ventured outside. The town of Texarkana, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, which spans Texas and Arkansas, lived in fear as he apparently attacked 8 people and killed 5. Just as fast as the killing started, though, they suddenly stopped. The Phantom Killer was never identified, but the terror he left in the small town was never lost, ultimately inspiring the classic horror film, The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know why people always just want to just hurt people for no reason. Like, with me, I'm like, bro, if you give me a reason, it's gonna happen. But like, for no reason, it makes it... I feel like that's where the mental illness side of some killers come from, you know what I'm saying?
Disturbing moments caught on live TV, Part 3. As the hosts question the couple, the rocking chair in which the doll is sitting suddenly begins to rock back and forth. As the camera films one family organizing their event, a bouquet of flowers can be seen inexplicably lifting out of its vase and throwing itself across the room. During a news coverage in Japan, some viewers spotted a mysterious black bird repeatedly vanishing and reappearing.
That's how you know you on some haunted ground. If a black crow type bird just keeps coming back, yeah, nah, I'll just be out of there immediately.
This college dorm room is so haunted they had to permanently close it to students. This is Ohio University's room 428. The only known case where an American university sealed a dorm is room 428 in Wilson Hall at Ohio University. Students aren't allowed to so much as step foot inside that room, and for good reason. You gotta hear this. 428 is permanently closed due to the numerous reports of hauntings and dangerous paranormal activity in the room. It all started in the 1970s when a male student passed away in room 428 under mysterious circumstances, meaning no one could agree on what happened to this young man. And after that, things started getting really weird. Years later, a female student moved in and used the room's energy to practice rituals. Not long after moving in, she passed away mysteriously as well. And once again, no one could really agree on a reason why. And ever since the two, anyone who moved into the dorm reported terrifying occurrences at all hours of the day and night. Objects would fly across the room on their own accord. Students would hear disembodied voices, whispering, and even shouting, even though there was no one there. And even stranger, haunting faces kept appearing in the wood grain of the room's door. This happened over and over. The school even replaced the door many times, but the faces would always reappear. Eventually, it got to be too much. They were getting complaints and calls about this room all the time. And the university decided to seal the door shut forever. And this is the only known case where a dorm room has been sealed off in the United States. Mediums have found that this building is located at the center of 5 ancient cemeteries, and room 428 is some kind of a portal. This really reminds me of Dudleytown, just one horrible event after another, and eventually they have to close it. What are your thoughts on room 428?
I feel like a lot of buildings that people stay in nowadays are low-key built on the cemeteries, which is kind of strange. Like, is that intentional, or do they just like, whatever, and just build it? Because I'm pretty sure you got to dig deep for like the piping, the wiring, and all that. I don't know. I'm not even too sure about all that. But if you guys know, put it down in the comments.
These are scary things to do with your friends, part 1. This is the red room number. And they say if you dial the number, you will hear garbled voices and scary music. And as you stay on the line, a very distinct voice will deliver creepy messages to you. They say if you ever call the red room number or answer any incoming calls from it, someone will figure out your physical location, kidnap you, and then bring you to a red room, which is a place where people go to get tortured and killed. This is extremely scary and would definitely give you and your friends some sort of excitement, but be careful because nobody wants to go to the red room.
Are y'all trying to go to the red room? Because best believe I'm not going there. Hell no.
Scary stalkers caught on camera. This video shows a girl while recording a man with a face mask following her on the road. Initially, she thought that he might be someone walking in the same direction, so she slowed down to let him walk past her, but the guy slowed down with her. For 45 minutes, the girl walked in circles around several blocks until she arrived at a skating park and approached a group of strangers. She asked them to help her and told them what was going on, finally getting rid of the man when someone tried to confront him about his actions.
You know, I've seen that clip about 5 times, and every time I see it, I think like, yo, this gotta be the worst stalker I've ever seen in my existence. How you gonna be stalking a girl but walking beside her like your Secret Service? Like, what? But nah, I'm not gonna lie, man. Strange people out there, dude. That's why y'all gotta be careful.
This is why you should never believe in coincidences. This story is called The Human Chair by Junji Ito, and it's one of the most terrifying things I've ever read. So the main character, Hayama, is a writer, and one day she walks into a furniture store looking to buy a chair. But the owner of the store tells her that he has a special armchair, and that this armchair has a fascinating backstory. He said that this chair used to belong to a famous author named Yoshiko, and one day Yoshiko received an anonymous manuscript in the mail titled The Human Chair. The manuscript went on to describe a carpenter who fell in love with the chairs that he made, to the point where he lived inside them. This terrified Yoshiko, as the chair that she had in her study room looked very similar to the one described in the manuscript. A few days later, Yoshiko's husband left town and Yoshiko received a letter. The letter said, "I know your armchair is an essential item for your work. Your body can't live without mine, and my body can't live without yours either. I hope for the day you and I can become one." Hayama then asked the owner of the furniture store, was the letter from the carpenter? And what happened to Yoshiko in the end? He replied that eventually her career as a writer failed and she disappeared without a trace. But then he starts peeling open the armchair. And this next image is too disturbing to show you, so just imagine. As the owner of the furniture store opened up the armchair, he revealed Yoshiko and the carpenter still inside decades later. He said Yoshiko lost her mind and decided to live the rest of her life with the carpenter inside the chair. And they even had children. The armchair was then passed down from generation to generation, and the owner of the furniture shop is their descendant, tasked with taking care of the chair and the 2 bodies inside of it. Then he said what might have been the most terrifying thing. He said, "Your name is Hayama, right? I've read your work before. Don't worry, as long as we find you the perfect chair, you won't have any more problems in your future, I can promise you that."
Unintentionally disturbing characters from children's shows, Part 2. The Scary Lion, from Teletubbies, was a very intimidating and frightening monster in one of the numerous sketches in the show.
I'm the Scary Lion.
EC, from Liftoff, was a genderless and faceless doll that was supposed to represent every child of Australia. The Wiggle puppets, from The Wiggles, were puppets with high-pitched voices modeled after the Wiggles characters.
Creepy cryptids from around the world, Part 15. Pukwudgies. A pukwudgie is a 2 to 3 feet tall being from Wampanoag folklore. The physical features of a pukwudgie resemble those of a human, but with enlarged noses, fingers, and ears. Their skin is described as being smooth gray, and at times having been known to glow. In Native American lore, pukwudgies have the following traits and abilities. They can appear and disappear at will. They can transform into a hybrid of a porcupine, troll, and human that walks upright. They can attack people and lure them to their deaths. They are able to use magic. They possess poison arrows. They can create fire at will. And Pukwudgies control Tai Pai Wankins, which are believed to be the souls of Native Americans they have killed. Native Americans believe that Pukwudgies were best left alone. When you see a Pukwudgie, you are not supposed to mess with them, or they will repay you by playing nasty tricks on you, or following you home and causing trouble. They were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them. They are known to kidnap people, use sand to blind their victims, push people off cliffs, and attack their victims with a collection of short knives and spears. Though the exact tales and powers associated with Pukwudgies may vary from tribe to tribe, all of them agree that if you see a Pukwudgie, stay away and don't let their size deceive you.
Some of the most terrifying police sketches aren't always of suspects, but some of them are of the victims. And this one from Richmond, Virginia is one of the more unsettling that I've come across recently. An unknown woman who was found with a very unusual description, reportedly only 4'10" with a buzzed head and an unusually elongated face. She was described as extremely dehydrated with the skin of her hands beginning to peel away. They haven't released any additional details, but whoever she was remains an unknown, and whoever did this to her is still out there.
I'm not gonna lie to you, when that face popped up, I got terrified. I was like, yo, what? Is that like even a real sketch of someone for real?
This is what would happen if you fell into a pool full of snake venom. Okay, so if you were to swim in snake venom, there's a good chance you wouldn't die. First, you probably noticed that swimming in snake venom isn't very different from swimming in water. And it wouldn't really smell like anything. And if you accidentally happen to taste the snake venom, it would actually taste somewhat sweet. Swimming in venom really wouldn't do anything to you, unless you have an open wound. If you went into a pool full of venom with an open cut, it wouldn't be good for you at all. The venom would quickly seep into your veins and give you a number of issues, mainly blood clotting. This would eventually clog your blood vessels and would lead to you dying from a stroke or a heart attack.
I mean, I don't know who would be filling their pool with snake venom, but if that was the case and someone did, why would you want to swim in that? That's kind of strange. So you're telling me if you accidentally swallow it, somehow your stomach and intestines are just going to filter it out before it gets into your bloodstream? But if it goes directly into your bloodstream from an open sore or cut, you're going to instantly get blood clots and die? Huh? Yo. Making me think if I have any open cuts, bro. Because you know, sometimes you don't even know if you have open cuts.
The creepypasta of Carmen Winstead. Carmen was a young girl who just moved out to Indiana, and she was relentlessly bullied, particularly by this group of girls who were set out to ruin this girl's life. During a school fire drill, the girls thought it would be funny if they cornered her near this open sewer, try to get her to fall down, get her covered in sewage, and embarrass her. So they surround her, and she falls in, but when she falls, she hits her face on the side wall and scrapes off the entire front of her face, lands on her neck, which snapped backwards. None of the girls owned up to pushing her or surrounding her. They just said that they saw her fall. This was a tragic accident. Months would pass when suddenly the whole school starts getting this string of anonymous messages saying that what happened to Carmen wasn't an accident, she was pushed. They never found out who sent these messages though. Not long after that, one of the girls who was responsible claimed she could hear whispering and laughing in the shower, which she believed was coming from the drain. One by one, all of those girls met their end in a very similar way.
Yeah, nah, man. That does sound kind of tragic. Like, she really fell and, like... It's a tragic way to go, mostly in front of all those people.
A mysterious voice inside this woman's head told her that she had a brain tumor. And she did. Years back, a woman in England was living a very normal life as a housewife. She was married with kids and had always been really healthy. She was sitting at home reading one day when she suddenly heard a very clear voice inside her head say, quote, "Please do not be afraid. I know it must be shocking for you to hear me speaking to you like this, but this is the easiest way I could think of. My friend and I used to work at Children's Hospital Great Ormond Street, and we would like to help you." The woman was completely shocked, but the voice was so distinct and clear. The woman had heard of this children's hospital, but had absolutely no ties to it. The voice then spoke to her again and said, "To help you see that we are sincere, we would like you to check the following. The voice then gave her 3 separate pieces of information, all of which she didn't know at the time. She was instructed to check these out, and when she did, she found they were all true. The distinct voice in her head ultimately urged her to go to the doctor, and the woman did. And after a series of assessments, she was eventually diagnosed with a large benign brain tumor. And this voice continued talking to the woman throughout all of her medical testing, guiding her through. The tumor had to be removed, and after her surgery to remove it, the woman heard from the voice one last time. After regaining consciousness from the procedure, she heard them say, "We are pleased to have helped you. Goodbye." And just like that, the voices were gone. The woman fully recovered and never heard from these voices ever again. Some say these were just hallucinations induced by the brain tumor, but many others believe that this was supernatural. This woman was being contacted by these voices from beyond.
Nah, that's actually really, really creepy, I'm not gonna lie. But if you ask me, that sounds like more of a blessing than a curse. But imagine a voice in your head. I was like, yo, bro, you actually have the influenza virus like going around in your body right now. I'd recommend going to the doctor before we lose this battle. So yeah, like imagine. And another thought I had too was like, your body doesn't give you signs that you have like cancer. Because I'm thinking about it, like if you have a brain tumor, right? They said it was a big brain tumor. Like, doesn't she have headaches, maybe migraines? Doesn't she feel off? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking like if you have lung cancer, liver cancer, like don't you have signs? You know what I'm saying? Or is it just like, oh, you're just good and then the tumor gets to like the greatest degree, then you start like what?
Disturbing things caught on security cameras, part 6. This security footage shows an intruder walking around a house looking for various valuables. The guy had only broken into the house seconds earlier by smashing a window while the house owner's kid and their babysitter were out running errands. When the two return home, the kid can be seen walking around the kitchen, but when the babysitter hears footsteps upstairs, she can be seen frantically grabbing the kid and running outside to the neighbor's house, followed by the intruder running away.
Nah, man, that's scary, dude. I don't know if I'm bugging, but on the security camera, it looked like he was recording that he broke into someone's house. That's kind of weird, bro. You're just really setting yourself up for failure at that point.
There was a possible terrorist attack in Rochester, New York yesterday, and an investigation is being led by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. 2 people were killed after a Ford Expedition hit a Mitsubishi Outlander that was exiting a parking lot near the Kodak Center in Rochester, New York, according to the city's police chief. 2 occupants of the Outlander were killed, and the driver was brought to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver of the Ford Expedition also died. First responders found at least a dozen gasoline canisters in and around the Ford Expedition once the fire was extinguished. Police say they're working with the FBI on this case. 3 pedestrians were also struck in the crash, 1 with life-threatening injuries and 2 with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators executed search warrants and did interviews overnight to learn more about the driver, who was not immediately identified, and we don't yet know what was going on in his life. The crash happened just after midnight yesterday near a crosswalk as concert-goers were leaving a nearby venue. Authorities don't yet know for sure whether this was terrorism, but they are investigating it that way until they can determine what happened and why.
Yeah, I actually heard about that recently. It's kind of strange, man. In my opinion, that is kind of sketchy that there were like gas canisters around the car and stuff like that. If you ask me, it could have been, but who knows, man. Sometimes people just be doing stuff just to do stuff.
This is how I always remembered Michael Jackson's voice sounding.
It's a hard situation. It is. And it's something I have to put up with.
But Michael played us. That voice we're used to was one he created for his pop star persona.
You know that voice, Michael Jackson's voice that you hear all the time, like, oh yeah, like that wasn't talking like that. Like it was like low-key deep.
So finally, after a couple of hours, almost the Brazilian officials leave, Spike leaves, and Michael just sitting there with my friend. He said, at a certain point, Michael looked up and said, damn, I thought those motherfuckers weren't gonna never leave. Now, and he says, hold up, and he says this not in, damn, I don't think these motherfuckers will never leave. He says it like a black man would say, damn, I thought the motherfuckers were gonna never leave. Then he got up and walked out. And my friend was saying, he was sitting there like,
There's not many recordings or videos of Michael using his real voice, but there is one. In 1999, Michael allowed Midway to use his likeness and voice in Ready to Rumble Boxing, in which he opted to use his actual voice for his character.
So you be bad, huh? I don't move over for no one. They call me the king of pop. I'm gonna dance all over you. Don't tango with the king of pop.
Yeah, no, that's actually crazy how people can manipulate the tone of their voice, because I've actually heard that Michael Jackson uses that like, hey guy, like that, you know, baby kind of voice to like train that high pitch vocal in his throat. I don't even know, bro. I don't know how none of that shit works, but that's what I've heard. So that's kind of cool how he like can change it like that. From, if you ask me, that's low-key like some talent right there, dude. R.I.P. Michael Jackson, he was the GOAT. I know a lot of people, a lot of new artists have been like hitting his records, close to his records, but now we have the internet, bro. It's 10 times. If Michael Jackson had the internet like what we have right now, his records would be like untouchable, bro. But just because the internet wasn't around when he was really, really popping, so in my opinion, I don't really think any artist nowadays is even really close to Michael Jackson. Like, I'm sorry. Not Drake, not Taylor Swift, none of them off. Like, they have the internet to their advantage. Not even Kanye West, bro. Like, none of them, no. Michael Jackson's in his own league. Like, no one's coming close to that anytime soon.
Conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. MKUltra was the code name for a series of illegal experiments in the 1950s and 60s in which the CIA attempted to control the minds of communist spies. MKUltra used multiple means to manipulate its subjects' minds, such as high doses of psychoactive drugs, hypnosis, electroshocks, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal abuse, and other methods of torture. This resulted in people slipping into permanent comas, being sick, and even deaths. The truth about the experiments finally started to come out in 1977 when over 20,000 files related to MKUltra were passed over to the Senate, and in December 2018 declassified documents revealed that the CIA made 6 dogs run, turn, and stop via remote control and brain implants.
I like how he said follow if you don't trust the CIA. Hey man, if you guys don't trust the CIA, subscribe, like this video, comment your thoughts on that. But in my opinion, that is true. They did actually confirm they did stuff like that. So in my opinion, bro, they definitely have some sketchy things going on in the CIA.
You guys remember the clown statue? Disclaimer, if you have any statues in your house, you might not look at them the same way after watching this video. The story goes like there was a teenage girl who was babysitting for a wealthy couple. Before the parents left for their date that night, they told the babysitter that after the kids go to sleep, she was allowed to watch TV in the children's playroom. So later that night, after the babysitter put the kids to sleep, she went into their playroom and started to watch TV. Only there was something that kept distracting her. There was a life-size clown statue in the corner of the room, and the babysitter couldn't help but feel like the clown statue was staring at her. While she was trying to watch TV and ignore this feeling of being watched, the children's dad called her to check in, and she told him that she was watching TV in the playroom, but she asked if she could watch the TV somewhere else, because the clown statue in the corner of the playroom was really bothering her. That's when the dad responded with, "What clown statue? We don't have a clown statue. Next time you see a clown statue, it might actually be a person dressed up."
I wonder why someone would have a clown statue. Like, I don't think, I could be like a quadrillionaire, you know what I'm saying, have mad billions, and I would never have a clown statue. That's just me personally.
Do you know why? Things caught on camera. A Ring doorbell captures a shirtless man walking up to a house in the middle of the night. Though, instead of knocking or ringing the doorbell, he pretends to and even fakes having a conversation with the homeowner. The reason why will shock you. Take a look.
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry.
What do you think was the sinister reason behind this and follow?
Who knows, bro? I mean, he might have just wanted help. Something might have happened, and he might have just been like, yo, can you guys like help? They're like, oh my god, a shirtless guy came and knocked on my door. Why was he there? I mean, he didn't look like he was trying to harm anyone, so I don't think it was that bad, if you ask me.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 16. Benjamin Franklin was a MILF hunter and would regularly encourage younger men to try out older women. Significantly older women. The Welsh would often steal sheep from England, but this offense was punishable by death. The loophole to this was when they got caught, they said they were there to simply the sheep, which was considered less bad. Anne Frank's diary talked a lot about puberty and her personal experiences with her own female anatomy. It goes into significant detail, and her father had to go through and edit it all out. While gay sex was considered illegal in Britain in the 19th century, lesbian sex was not. mostly because their government refused to believe that it was a thing. JFK was dating Miss Denmark in the 1940s, and the FBI was concerned that she was a German spy. They put a recording device in her bedroom, expecting to hear a conversation, but instead just got a lot of
Nah, that man JFK was a real life player, bro. My man was in the Oval Office, you know what I'm saying? You know what yo, JFK, for a man with a wife, he had a lot of affairs, bro. RIP JFK, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I believe in loyalty, so like I don't stand for affairs and cheating and all that shit, but like, you know what I'm saying? You can't hate the play, you gotta hate the game.
A teenage girl notices a pickup truck following her home one night after leaving a high school basketball game. At first she thought we must be going in the same direction, but then she began to watch the truck in her rearview mirror. When she sped up, so did he. When she passed a car, he did too. Then he turned on his high beams and left them on for quite some time, so she began to feel uneasy. She tried speeding away, but he would continue to follow her, flashing his high beams the entire drive. Finally, she pulled into her driveway, but the truck pulled in right behind her. She jumped out of her car and ran into her house, telling her father to call the police. But when police arrived, the man had a in his hand and told them that he wasn't the one they should be arresting. He pointed inside of the girl's now parked car, and there was a man crouched behind the driver's seat with a knife. The man had slipped into the girl's car just before she left the school game, and the man in the truck saw it all happen but had no way to stop it. So he followed her car, and each time the man in the back seat reached up to stab the girl, the truck driver would flash his high beams and the killer would drop back down into the seat to avoid getting caught.
Oh, hell no, bro. Stuff like that is scary, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've heard so many stories about stuff like this that every time I get in my car, I check my back seat. I'm making sure I'm straight. I don't know about y'all, but like sometimes you hear so much stories and stuff. You're like, yeah, nah, I'm not gonna let that happen to me. You gotta do self-checks. You gotta make sure you're good.
Are you a paranormal fan? I've got a good one for you. This is the Winchester Mystery House. The Winchester Mystery House, located in San Jose, California, has been a fascination to the public for decades since its construction began in 1886. The Queen Anne-style Victorian mansion was the home of Sarah Winchester, the widow of firearms tycoon William Wirt Winchester. Sarah's young daughter Anne William Winchester passed, and in 1881, Sarah inherited more than $20 million. That's equivalent to more than $550 million today. Sarah also inherited 50% of the Winchester Arms Company, which left her with an income of $1,000 a day. In today's world, that's equivalent to more than $26,000 a day. That is some serious coin. Sarah struggled with the grief of her child and husband and questioned what to do with her fortune. She also felt guilty for the contribution that the Winchester Repeating Arms Company had on the world, the loss and the violence. So she sought the advice of a Boston medium who supposedly channeled William's spirit and told her that firstly, she should leave the East Coast and move to California. There, she should continuously build a home for herself and the spirits of the people who had fallen victim to the Winchester rifles. If she didn't, she would be haunted by them for the rest of her life. So she headed west. She purchased an unfinished farmhouse in Santa Clara Valley and began building her mansion. She hired carpenters and builders that worked on the house 24/7. By the turn of the century, the Winchester had 161 rooms, 47 fireplaces, 3 elevators, and dozens of Tiffany & Co. stained glass windows. It was built to 7 stories, but after earthquake damage throughout the years, it now sits at 4 stories. The construction didn't stop for 38 years until Sarah's passing in 1922. Sarah would sleep in a different bedroom every night to appease the spirits. Due to the lack of an architect or blueprint, the house was constructed haphazardly. Rooms were added onto exterior walls, resulting in windows overlooking other rooms. The Winchester has exits that lead to nowhere, doorways that open to walls, corners that round to dead ends, and staircases that ascend up through levels before ending abruptly. It has no rhyme or reason. Today, the Mystery House offers guided tours where guests can explore. Some visitors have reported feeling spooked while inside the home. Is it the spirits that Sarah felt inside the home? Or the ghost of Sarah herself? I guess we gotta go for a tour and find out.
I'm not gonna lie, shorty was loaded. $26K a day. Oh my goodness. Yo, what would you do with 26 grand US dollars a day in one day? One day. Every day. $500 million. It's OD, man. Yo, tell Sarah to give me some money. Damn.
That were taken right before death, part 1. In 2014, Oscar Reyes participated in the Selfie Olympics and took a photo of himself hanging from his bathroom door. A few seconds later, he slipped and fell, hitting his head on the toilet and dying from severe blood loss. Andrew Macaulay attempted to be the first man to kayak from Australia to New Zealand. He took this selfie and texted his family that he would be home soon, but drowned just 30 miles away from the finish line. In 2011, 3 teens in Utah took this selfie together on the train tracks. It appears to be a happy, ordinary photo, but the glare on the right side of the screen is from the train that runs into them just a few seconds later.
You know, I've heard about that last one a lot of times, and I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they just move? Like, you know, the train didn't hit them yet. They already took the picture. The train looks like it's a decent, like, you know, decent miles away. You know what I'm saying? Take the picture, boom. Oh, a train's coming. Move backwards. Wow. Like, I wonder how that happened. Like, was it coming too quick? Because I have train tracks near me, and they're usually kind of slow. You know what I'm saying?
Jessica Hermiston snapped a shot of this bizarre creature she claimed was following her around in Ohio while on a hike with her fiance at the time. She has no idea what it was, but claims that it acted aggressive and whooped at her and her fiance several times. She was able to snap this as it was moving in between the trees.
I feel like I've said this before, but I feel like sometimes people see stuff that are like normal, like gorillas or something, and then they just label it as Bigfoot. But I don't know. That could have been anything, if you ask me.
Scary moments of people being followed home. This woman was returning home with her dog when suddenly This woman was returning home with her baby, but she wasn't alone.
Yeah, nah, that's why y'all gotta be careful, man. Stuff like that. Oh my gosh. Someone like me, man. Yeah, nah. I'm gonna make sure that never happens, dude. That's why y'all gotta stay protected, man.
This is why death row prisoners get a last meal. Okay, so we all definitely wondered why people on death row have a final meal. It's like all these people who commit gruesome crimes get rewarded with a final meal. Most people think it's an act of kindness because of the gruesome death that awaits them, whether it be lethal injection or the electrical chair. But the actual reason might blow your mind. This so-called tradition actually started in ancient Greece, where they believed you actually had to feed these criminals, or else they would come back to haunt you as a mean and vengeful hungry ghost. This is actually insane, and I bet all of you never knew this.
Nah, that one was quite interesting, but he said, why do they get rewarded with a last meal? If you ask me, I mean, there's really no reward. Like, after you eat that meal, you're done. You're gone. You're dunzos. Like, if you ask me, you should just get a last meal. Just like, oh, what?
Creepy dash cam footage p.10.
Cartel. See that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that's one of my biggest fears too. Like, someone blocking up the road, stealing your car, like, what are they gonna do with you? Like, let's say you get out of that car, like, what's gonna happen to you?
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 35. The youngest girl to ever give birth was only 5 years old. What I want to know is who did it and why. There is a biological weapon that contains a virus, and if it is released, it could kill the entire human population. According to a theory known as the Troxler effect, if you spend too much time looking into a mirror, you may end up seeing a monster or a different distorted version of yourself. And lastly, this 46-year-old man tracked down and a 13-year-old to because he was killing him too many times in Call of Duty. These facts, along with so many others, just go to show how crazy our world is.
That 5-year-old one is insane. 5-year-old, bro? Five years on this planet, and you already have what? He's right. I wonder who did that. That person deserves life. Damn.
Disturbing things that you should never look up on Google. Part 2. Bianca Devins was a 17-year-old from New York known for posting e-girl content to her Instagram. In April 2019, one of her followers, 21-year-old Brandon Clark, DM'd her, sparking a romantic relationship between the two. A few months later, Bianca, Brandon, and another friend of theirs named Alex attended a concert together in the Bronx. Sometime during the concert, Brandon caught Bianca kissing Alex, which led to an argument on the car ride home. Brandon eventually began to her and her neck with a knife that he'd hid under his seat. He then got into Bianca's phone and posted several gruesome images of her corpse to her Instagram story and released a video of the murder as well. He then posted the following picture to her page, hinting that he was going to take his own life. However, police were notified before he could do so, and Brandon was taken into custody and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of...
Disturbing facts that may ruin your day. You are the oldest that you have ever been and the youngest that you will ever be. Your bed absorbs 26 gallons of your sweat every year. There are 15 dead people for every one person alive. Science can't measure exactly how strong a gorilla is, so there's no sure way on how to contain them. The gorilla enclosures at zoos are just based on trust. Every 18 minutes, someone in the United States has a brain aneurysm that ruptures. Vampire moths are real and can feed on the blood of humans. A jar of peanut butter contains 10 or more rodent hairs and can contain up to hundreds of insect fragments. Big Bird almost joined NASA's Challenger mission to help kids become more interested in space. Millions of kids would have watched Big Bird and the Challenger space shuttle explode on live television.
Yeah, the one with the peanut butter and insects, that's facts. You know those times when you're eating something soft or something like mushy and then you had those, you feel like crunchy? Yeah, man. How you like them insect legs, man? How you like them insect legs? Yeah, I know you like them insect legs.
Mr. Kitty's house. Picture you're just chilling in a bedroom and then you see this in the doorway. This is Mr. Kitty. And although he looks terrifying, he's actually a friendly, safe, and non-hostile entity in the back rooms. Mr. Kitty takes the form of a dark humanoid creature which is extremely tall and has no hands and no feet. Instead, he just has nubs. He has no features at all. He's just a blank slate. The inside of Mr. Kitty's house consists of cute items pictured here, and all of the interior is white and pink. Mr. Kitty's house is also known as level 974 of the back rooms. There consists of 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a dining room, and a living room, and 2 bathrooms. Mr. Kitty's house is known to be one of the safest levels in the back rooms, so if you get here, it's advised to stay for as long as you can. In order to exit this level, you have to hand Mr. Kitty something cute, like these items here. You'll fall asleep and wake up in another safe level, and he will keep the item.
The back rooms, oh wow. What I gotta say about that is that look like them shadow figures. Sometimes you just be chilling, you see those like figures at the corner of your eyes. Yeah, that look like a shadow figure, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Happy New Year. This is a true dark web story, part 4. Paul, a 19-year-old from Germany. Paul is a heavy weed smoker. He's done research on all types of drugs. He likes to experience new things. He tends to stay away from addictive drugs and uses other ones for spiritual purposes. Paul is also always on one of the deep web chats almost every night. And he has anonymous friends that are regulars on that same chat. A new user joined this chat room for the first time. Some people greeted him, some were making fun of his username, and some were very sketched out. This anonymous user sent a Tor link without describing what the website is about. After he sent the link, he just left the chat room. Paul was the only one curious about that link. He opens the link and it takes him to a website that introduces a new psychedelic drug that comes in forms of pills. As he reads more about this drug, he scrolls down and reads the offer. Your first order is on the house. We know you'll come back for more. He was mind blown that there was a free trial for this drug. He checks out his free package, puts a fake name and a fake address somewhere near his house in his city. Paul just didn't want to be traced. 4 days later, on a Saturday evening, someone knocks Paul's house door. He opens the door and sees only a box on the porch. There was a note on the box that says, "Dear Paul, we wanted to offer the best service and deliver it to your home ourselves." At this point, Paul knew this was very serious. He started panicking after finding out they know his real name and they have his real address. He runs to his PC, finding that that link that was shared in that chat room that day by the anonymous user doesn't work anymore. Beneath the box, there was a local number, and under it says, "WhatsApp to order more." Paul felt like this was a setup. He burned all the pills, and he never opened any random links from any deep web chat room.
Man, good for Paul, man. I'd be sketched out too. I'm like, they're like, "We know you'll come back for more." Bro, I don't want to be coming back for more. What? I just wanted to try something, man. I just wanted to have a good time. So good for Paul, but like, nah, them deep web things, scary, dude. I should do that. I should do like a deep web episode. Yo, I feel like a lot of people would mess with that, but I don't want to go on the deep web, man. Next thing you know, it's gonna be like Fittie deep web episode, and then boom, I'm just gone. Like, where the hell has he been? I'm just in the back of someone's white van. Yeah, nah, it's not gonna happen to me. Not anytime soon. Not anytime ever.
Tom Cruise is still refusing to forgive his former friend Will Smith over the Oscars slap, and there's a conspiracy theory as to why. So the two have been friends for a long time. It makes sense, they're Hollywood elite, they run in the same crowds. But there's another rumored connection, and that's where the conspiracy theory starts. So Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith started a school that was rumored to be very heavily influenced by Scientology. Now, Jada Pinkett has denied those claims and says that she's not a Scientologist, but Leah Remini, who was a Scientologist, said that she would see her at the church all the time. To which Jada Pinkett replied, "Oh, I studied Scientology, but we're not Scientologists." Now, a large number of the teachers at this school were Scientologists, and there was an alarming amount of curriculum surrounding the founder of Scientology. And knowing all that we know about Jada Pinkett now, there could have been, let's just call it an entanglement with that church. What does this have to do with the slap? Slapping is rumored to be encouraged by the Church of Scientology as a way of expressing yourself. You made Tom look bad, he's not forgiving you.
I'm confused. Did Will Smith slap Tom Cruise? What? Nah, man. Will Smith loved to slap motherfuckers, bro. Yo, that's low-key like a feminine trait. Like, why are you slapping men? Hey, man. It's not me. He's just, you know what I'm saying? That's beyond me, bro.
History that school probably didn't teach you. Part 8. Much like small peepees on guys, in ancient Greece, the unibrow was a sign of great beauty and intelligence in women. Huh. Oh, can you... After using the bathroom, ancient Romans used a sponge on the end of a stick to wipe their and this same dirty sponge was shared by everyone in the community. Okay, this might be the one time that sharing is not caring. If you were found guilty of adultery in ancient Greece, the husband of the woman with whom you committed the crime had the right to sodomize you with radishes. In the Middle Ages, beaver were considered a delicacy, so they were hunted specifically for this reason. But beavers eventually started to realize this, so they began biting off their own so hunters would stop chasing them.
Yo, imagine having to bite off your own Yo, that's insane, dude. Sometimes though, you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Disturbing things caught on CCTV. Seeing a clip of a murderer before their crime is one thing, but this man was caught on CCTV like nothing was about to happen. He and a friend were out, chatting and joking together as if nothing had happened. They go out, run to the store, walk back home, and then moments later, CCTV catch Sean Buell as he runs from the crime scene, carrying the object he used against his friend. Luckily, thanks to pinpointed CCTV, he was caught and arrested shortly after that.
Did he really just set up his own friend like that? Yo, that is disrespectful. Wow. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, with me, bro, I'd have to come back from the afterlife and do something crazy, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Sometimes you laugh, talk, and cry in sleep. It's often a spirit sitting beside you in bed. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York than to be bitten by a shark. A human head remains conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. If you search up this number on Google, you'll find people with their heads in fridges. Gelatin is made out of bones. That's right. The melted marshmallow in your hot chocolate is melted animal bone. It's good stuff. You have no way of really knowing if everyone experiences reality and consciousness the same way you do. If a panda finds a fresh carcass, they'll eat it. And last but not least, your phone is likely spying on you right now as you're watching this. Yeah, there's a lot more.
The phone one, yeah, for sure. We been knew this. Like the phone one, they always spying on us. Like when are they realistically not? And yeah, the part where you're talking about the realities, like how you can't experience the same reality as someone else, that makes sense. Just like how someone else might see the color red different than you see the color red.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. Hanging is the most preferred means of suicide in most parts of the world. Every year, car accidents kill 1.2 million people worldwide, in addition to 140,000 injured and 15,000 who will be handicapped for life. Between 1347 and 1352, the bubonic plague killed about 75 million worldwide, including a third of the entire population of Europe. In 1918, the flu virus killed between 21 million and 50 million people around the year, making it the deadliest virus in all human history. Since the AIDS pandemic began in 1985, over 22 million people have died from the disease. HIV infects more than 36 million people globally, so the death toll is expected to increase.
The fact that hanging is actually one of the most go-to things for that is actually a little bit crazy. Because I low-key, I feel like it's one of those things where you either really suffer or you just instantly, but I mean, kind of scary to think about.
What's up? These are some scary facts about space, part 1. If you are trying to live in space for a year, you better have the biggest supply of water, because if you don't, you have to drink up to 730 liters of your recycled sweat and urine just to survive, because water is very scarce in space. I'm gonna give it to you straight, black holes are terrifying as they are, but what if I told you that the biggest black hole that has ever been discovered in space weighs 40 billion times the mass of the sun? Imagine getting sucked into that black hole. If you have been in orbit in space for 30 days or more, chunks of your feet will begin to fall off while you are in orbit. That is terrifying. This is pretty terrifying, as it says in the Big Rip theory, which I don't necessarily believe, but it says that this dark energy will eventually, in about 1 billion years, make the Earth explode. We've barely even cracked the surface of research for space, so who's to say that aliens aren't real as well?
Now, I feel like we've already established that aliens are real. I don't know if you guys saw it, but they've been saying that aliens are real. Who knows if they're lying or not, but nah, that's crazy. Honestly, I would visit space, but I feel like I'd get too lost in the sauce. Like, I'd be like, what? I could not be able to stay inside a ship for like months.
3 more creepy hidden rooms found in people's homes. Number 1, Reddit user Lumberjack shared jaw-dropping images of a small passageway he stumbled upon in his new home. Within the tiny space, he found an ominous-looking locked door which was hiding the entrance to a small room containing a briefcase and a safe. Inside these items were money, watches, and most strangely a series of videotapes. One of these was covered in writing which just repeated no over and over again. Number 2, a couple were starting to do renovations in their new home and to their surprise discovered a secret passageway behind a bookcase. Inside they found a note saying "you found it," and it then went on to explain that there was a serious black mold problem in the house which caused the previous homeowners to leave. Number 3, one student got a nasty surprise when he moved into a house in New Mexico bought by his parents. At night he would hear banging noises coming from beneath the floor, and after some investigation he found a hidden door in the floor of the pantry leading to a hidden basement. Within it was a desk, working lights, and most creepily a recently smoked cigarette.
This is what would happen if you were tickled for 24 hours straight. Okay, we all know this wouldn't be fun, but it's not like it could kill you, right? That's actually wrong. Getting tickled for 24 hours straight can actually cause a handful of complications. You can lose the ability to regulate your breathing. Also, your blood pressure can get so high you could pass out. And what's even worse, you could even have a heart attack. Believe it or not, but in ancient China, they used tickling as a form of torture. because it made the victim suffer, but it didn't leave any marks. And if you're very sensitive to being tickled, you could even die from asphyxiation, not to mention the stomach pain you will be having from your ab muscles being activated for so long. So no matter what you do, don't try this at home.
I don't know what it was, but something about that video was just funny. He was like, if you get tickled for 24 hours, you will die. I was like, yo, that's actually crazy. But my question is, if you're not ticklish, then what? Let's say someone's trying to torture you by tickling you. I'm not ticklish. So I'm just going to sit there just like...
So I woke up this morning and look at that fog. On a regular day, you should be able to see some of the London skyline, but this fog is thick. So I thought today was as good a day as any to tell you about the time London was choked by a killer smog, an unprecedented disaster that killed at least 10,000 people and injured over 100,000. In the winter of 1952, a perfect storm of really cold air and an anti-cyclone, which trapped all coal, smoke, and car exhaust at ground level. Now, London was famously foggy and polluted, but this was very different. A thick black and yellow lethal fog grew thicker and thicker over 5 days. Visibility was less than 1 meter. Everyone was effectively blinded, and they couldn't escape because the clouds seeped indoors as well. There was very little oxygen, and many suffered from hypoxia and exacerbated respiratory infections. Public transport and ambulance services stopped, and driving a car was impossible, meaning you had to walk blindly to a hospital. But when the smog finally cleared, there were thousands found suffocated in their homes. Today, London's a lot cleaner, and this morning's fog was just fog. But on mornings like this, and in old houses like mine, people say that you can still hear them.
Yeah, nah, I know that. I've been to England a couple of times, and it does get really foggy. I don't know why, but England always, not always, but like, it always just has like this gray texture to it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it doesn't, like, you know, like there's some places you go, it's bright. There's some places that's kind of dull. I feel like some places in England are a little bit dull. I don't know. But it's still pretty fun in England, though. I like England.
Imagine coming home only to find somebody hiding in it. Reddit user Myra shared her terrifying experience to Let's Not Meet. When she was 21, she was in the process of moving into her first apartment. While on the phone with her boyfriend, she went to check the mail, her apartment door automatically locking behind her. Once she returned to her apartment, she sat on her bed to open up her mail. She was still talking to her boyfriend when she accidentally dropped her phone and it landed under her bed. She laid down and stretched her arm under her bed to grab her phone. That's when something caught her eye. There was somebody hiding under her bed. He was lying still with his back towards her and his head in his chest, so she couldn't see his face. She choked back the urge to scream and slowly backed away without him seeing her. She told her boyfriend, "Sorry, I dropped my phone. I'm gonna go take a shower and I'll call you back." She walked to her bathroom, closed the door and locked it, turned the shower on, and then climbed out her window. She called the police and they told her to wait somewhere safely nearby. She patiently waited for the police, and when they arrived, she gave them the keys to her apartment. Moments later, the police came out with a thin man with crazy eyes. The police told her the man was waiting outside her bathroom door with one of her kitchen knives, waiting for her to come out. He had somehow gotten through her entry door while she was getting mail and then hid under her bed. The man, who was homeless, was placed inside a mental hospital, and her boyfriend moved in with her the very next day.
Yeah, nah, that's strange. I actually heard that story before. In my opinion, bro, that guy that's standing at that door, yeah, that dude got some problems. That's why he's probably in that mental asylum. But good job for that lady, bro. Damn, that would have been so tragic.
Uphold the very law that he issued. He had to die by his own knife. In the early 5th century BC, Charondas, a Greek lawgiver, issued a law in which anyone who brought weapons into the assembly must be put to death. He made the fatal mistake of entering the assembly while a knife was still attached to his belt. In order to uphold the law that he issued, he carried out his own sentence and killed himself using his own knife.
Do you guys remember? Humans can lick too. This was one of the most popular scary stories when I was a kid. Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. The story goes like there was a young girl who was staying home alone one night while her parents went out. They were going to be home early the next morning, but they were confident that the girl would be okay because she had her dog to protect her. Before the girl went to bed, she locked every single window and door in the house, except there was one window in the basement that wouldn't close. After several minutes of trying, the girl finally got the window closed, but it wouldn't lock. The lock was stuck. She thought, It'll be fine, and she started to get herself ready for bed. The girl laid down for bed around 8 o'clock and her dog went to lay under her bed. She went to say goodnight to her dog and stuck her hand under her bed so that her dog could lick it. She woke up a couple hours later with a weird feeling, wanted to see if her dog was still under her bed, so she put her hand down there and her dog licked it. A couple hours later, the same thing, her dog licked her hand. I didn't realize this story would be longer than a minute. Humans Can Lick 2, Part 2. When the girl woke up in the middle of the night, she heard a strange dripping noise coming from the bathroom, but she thought it's just the sink faucet, probably needs to be fixed. And again, she stuck her hand under her bed so that her dog could lick it, and her dog did lick it. Around 6 a.m., she noticed headlights pulling into her driveway, which meant that her parents were home. So she thought, great, they can just take care of the dripping faucet. She got up to use the restroom and greet her parents when she was greeted by something else. In the restroom, draped over the shower curtain rod, was a lifeless body, which had been skinned, and that's what was making the dripping noise. The girl ran back to her bedroom to get a weapon when she noticed a note on the floor right by her bed, and it said, "Humans Can Lick 2," written in...
I'm thinking to myself, did she not leave her bed the whole time? Like, she was just there like, hey dog, lick my hand. It's kind of strange. That is a quite interesting story. I personally never heard about it, but if you've heard about it, put it down in the comments.
Darkest conspiracies. Despite its name, it's quite the opposite of Sunshine. One of the darkest conspiracies ever conceived is Project Sunshine. Commissioned by the U.S. Atomic Energy Committee and the U.S. Air Force, Sunshine was designed to investigate the effects of nuclear radiation on humans and the surrounding environment. Here's where it gets darker. Project Sunshine saw the U.S. government utilize, without permission, the parts of dead children and infants. Children generally have more strontium in their bones, making them more prone to radiation damage, making them perfect for test subjects.
Yeah, that was pretty disturbing.
Horrifying humanoid creatures caught on camera. In this creepy video, the man taking the video appears to be searching for his friend in a dark warehouse of some sort. As he is looking, he is surprised when he sees an inhuman face staring at him from behind some objects. The face turns to look at him. The being has a grayish-white complexion and red eyes.
I don't know why, but to me that looks like an owl. I might be wrong, but it looks like it's just chilling there. But if it is an owl, why is he just chilling in this dude's basement? I mean, who knows what it is?
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you, part 14. Philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau would hide in alleyways, pull his pants down, and jump scare women first in hopes they would get scared and spank him in self-defense. Apparently, this was his kink. A famous Irish pirate named Anne Bonny would fight with one out just to show that not only are you about to get murdered, but you're about to get murdered by an 18-year-old girl. Oh, this is my murdered York. The only slave on the Lewis and Clark expedition was a sensation among indigenous American women. They found the guy quite attractive, and he would tell them that he was part bear, so they would sleep with him in hopes of producing a bear warrior baby. LBJ used to take out his pee-pee and show people how big it was. He referred to it as jumbo, and here's a phone call of him complaining to a clothing company that their pants were too tight on his ladybird lance.
The crotch down where your nuts hang is always a little too tight. If you can't leave me about an inch from where the zipper ends, round under my back to my bunghole.
Now I remember seeing that video. That's funny. This man LBJ.
These are scary facts about popular childhood movies, part 2. Up first, in Lilo and Stitch the movie, there was a scene where Stitch hijacks a Boeing 747 jet and crashes it through a building to save Lilo. But after 9/11, Disney went back and changed the sequence completely, fearing it would be too close to the real-life attacks. The scene was then replaced with a spaceship being hijacked and crashing into the mountains instead. You can actually watch the original deleted scene on YouTube. Next up, Robert Knox, who played Marcus Belby in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, was stabbed to death just a few days after he finished filming. He was only 18 at the time of his murder.
Nah, 18? Dang, bro's young. R.I.P. bro, may his soul rest in peace. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's a zombie lady, bro. That's what it does to you, man. You guys gotta stay off them drags, man. You know what I'm talking about, bro. You gotta stay off that. It'd be scary, bro. You'll be, you know what's messed up about the drag scene? You'll know someone that's completely normal, then they start taking, you know what I'm saying, whatever it may be, and then that person that you once knew no longer becomes the same person. They drift apart. They lose themselves in it too much, man. R.I.P.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. In ancient Rome, soldiers used to drink fresh, warm blood to cure epilepsy. There are antidepressants that eliminate someone's ability to feel love and compassion. The Exorcist movie resulted in many of its cast dying, including 2 actors whose characters died in the movie. In 2017, an asteroid named AG-13 passed by our home planet with less than the distance of the moon. Scientists saw it coming only 2 days before it could have hit Earth. One of the most haunted dolls is Robert. It belonged to a child named Eugene in 1904. The 2 most dangerous books are called Shams al-Ma'arif and Al-Ghazali. They carry rituals for summoning demons. In ancient England, people used tops of hollowed human skulls to drink and eat. At Harvard University, there's a book bound in human skin.
A book with human skin? What's the point? Honestly, the other one that really shocked me too is why back in the Roman days they used to drink human blood to cure epilepsy. Ew. If that person had some crazy stuff roaming around in their bloodstream, now you got that. I really wonder if someone that actually had epilepsy that actually did that, I wonder if that worked for someone. It had to have worked for someone for them to actually put that and make that a thing.
You remember seeing this photo? This is Austin Harif. He was a college student and frat member who was involved in this horrible incident where he attacked a couple at random and chewed the face off of the husband. So at the time, Austin was a 19-year-old freshman at Florida State and everything seemed really normal, not out of the ordinary. So he eventually goes back and he's living with his family just west of Palm Beach when one night, when they're all out to dinner, he unexpectedly gets up from the table and leaves the restaurant. Kind of insane to think this, but the whole exchange is caught on camera. There were definitely signs that something was going on with him, as he reportedly believed he was half man, half horse. So he travels down the street in the dark, and for an unknown reason, he finds this couple just sitting outside of their garage. Next thing that anybody knew, there were these horrific screams coming from this driveway, and someone called 911. Austin had badly beaten them and used a weapon on them and was found to be eating the face off of the husband when police arrived. They almost had to end him as they couldn't even get him off with a taser.
Yo, he just said eating the face of another man. Yo, that is so tragic, bro. How you gonna eat the face of another man? Yo, that's so... We're not even gonna think about that one.
3 most horrifying science experiments. Number 1, Frankenmouse. The picture you see has actually been given the name ear mouse and was the product of simple stitching. His creators molded sterile, biodegradable mesh into the shape of a human ear, which they seeded with bovine cartilage cells. To grow the ear, they stitched the ear-shaped scaffold onto a nude mouse with no immune system, and the mouse's own blood vessels nourished the incipient ear. Number 2, zombie dogs. 2 Russian scientists released a video of dog heads that were kept alive by an artificial blood circulation system. They used a special heart-lung apparatus called the autojector, and the scientists showed dog heads responding to sounds by wiggling their ears, blinking, and even licking their mouths. Number 3, young blood rejuvenation. Scientists who were interested in aging joined 2 mice together, one young and one old, and studied the effects. When its circulatory system was connected to that of a younger mouse, the old mouse experienced reverse aging in its muscles and in its brain.
Reverse aging is evolutionary, bro. If we could reverse age, you know how crazy that would be? I mean, if it's possible in rats or mouse, guarantee it's possible in humans. But the way how they did it, though, was kind of like not... Well, it's kind of immoral, I guess you could say. No one's hooking up no baby circulation system to an old man. I'm not gonna lie.
Can you do the Russian experience? They mean the Russian sleep experiment. The Russian sleep experiment is a creepypasta story about Russian researchers keeping a group of 5 people awake for 15 days straight using an experimental gas. I already did this story one time last year, but it was like one of the first videos that I ever made on my TikTok, so it's really far behind. And I told them that and they asked me to do it again, so here I am doing it again. This is your warning. If you are sensitive to disturbing subject matter, please scroll past this video, otherwise it's about to get very disturbing. This story takes place during the World War II era in the 1940s. The story goes like 5 prisoners in Russia were promised to be freed from prison if they partook in an experiment. The Russian government took these 5 prisoners and put them in a chamber. Once the prisoners were secured inside this airtight chamber, then the researchers started pumping gas into the chamber. Little did they know that this gas would turn the prisoners from humans into something sinister. So the researchers started pumping the gas into the chamber where the prisoners were being kept. Everything was fine for the first 5 days, but the researchers did note that the prisoners began talking to each other about increasingly traumatic events that had happened in their pasts. Their conversations were taking a very dark turn. However, after 5 days, they started acting very paranoid and they stopped talking to each other and started whispering to themselves and also whispering into the microphones that allowed the researchers to hear what they were saying. After 9 days, things took an even darker turn. One of the inmates got up and started running around the chamber, screaming at the top of his lungs. He was screaming so much for hours that after 3 hours he couldn't scream anymore and only occasional squeaks could come out. He had physically torn his vocal cords from screaming so much. The other inmates were not fazed. They just kept doing what they were doing before, whispering into microphones, etc. That is, until they took books that were provided for them, ripped out the pages and smeared the pages with their own dookie. They then pasted the pages onto all of the porthole windows so that the researchers could no longer look inside. Then all of the whispering and any noise stopped. On the 14th day of the experiment, the researchers decided to use the intercom in the chamber and said that they were going to be opening the chamber and releasing the inmates, just to provoke a response out of them and make sure that they were all still alive in there. One of the inmates responded and he said, "We no longer wish to be freed." The next day, the researchers decided to drain all of the gas from the chamber. After they did this, the inmates began begging, pleading for them to turn the gas back on. After the researchers drained the gas from the chamber and all the inmates started begging and pleading for them to turn the gas back on, the researchers decided that it would be best if they opened the chamber. When they went to open the chamber, they had several armed guards ready just in case any of the inmates tried to lash out. Well, when they did end up opening the chamber, they were sickened by what they saw. Some of the inmates were still sitting up. Others were sprawled out on the floor. The one thing that they all had in common was that they had torn off their flesh with their bare hands. One of the inmates had even torn out his own stomach. Yet they were all still alive, and it seemed as though they could not feel pain. Shortly after the chamber was open, the inmates began ambushing the researchers and the guards. I'm not going to go into full detail because I don't want this video to get deleted by TikTok, but many of the researchers and guards did lose their lives.
I actually made a video on the Russian sleep experiment. You guys can click right here when I made my storytime videos. So if you guys want to check that out, just check that out whenever.
Eminem replaced by an Illuminati clone? In 2011, he had revealed that he had writer's block for 4 years. People think that this is the gap between 2004's Encore and 2009's Relapse. Those are 2 of his albums. People think that Eminem really died in 2005 due to a car crash that the Illuminati organized because he refused to work with them. If you look at pictures of him now, you'll realize that his nose changed, his eye color even changed. His skin is less pigmented, he has no freckles, his ears stick out, and his face looks fuller, but this could have been due to aging or plastic surgery. Remember, I'm not trying to offend anyone, this is just a fun theory I found on the internet. Let me know if you want a part 2.
You know, I've seen the Eminem clone theory a couple times. I don't know, people change, but it's like I said in the past with clones, I feel like it'd take years before we really realize like clone, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure they only can live half of what a normal human lives. So if I'm expected genetically to live to like 100, a clone could only live to 50. But I don't know, man. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked the video, please like the video. Remember to check the chains down in the description. I'm making a Discord community. It's in the works right now. I'm going to put the link to that in my next couple videos so you guys can join and you can add videos, add comments, whatever you want. And I'll react to it. I'll react to you guys' videos. And I'm also doing this thing. So someone in my comments Friday, I'm pretty sure, told me that some of the stories that you guys have been commenting have been scarier than some of the videos that I've watched. So I added a Google form down in the description for you guys to put your stories, and I will personally sometime in the future, probably next week, react to these stories that you guys put. So if you guys check the link in the description, there's the necklace website, there's the Google form, and soon there will be the Discord server also. So if you guys want to add any sort of scary stories, any sort of scary experiences or creepy experiences, or just strange experiences, click the Google form and put your experience. Try to make it as PG as possible. I don't want you coming in on no weird stuff, dude. Like, just keep it simple, nice, not too huge. Like, I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's keep it PG-13, you know what I'm saying? So if you guys want to be in my video, you can tell your scary stories down in the Google form.
Find things caught while camping. Some teens are around a campfire, presumably in the woods, watching cartoons and goofing around. Eventually, one of the girls leaves, and they realize she's been gone for quite a while.
Yeah, no, for legit though, like, Alexis has been gone for so freaking long trying to actually poop.
The video clips a bit, and it shows one of the guys standing around, clearly worried.
Can a couple of people just come with me just to make sure we're good? Yeah.
A few of the guys go out, looking for the missing girl. Slowly, they become more and more concerned about her well-being, and their voices get frenzied. Eventually, we hear a scream in the distance, and they start rushing after it.
Alexis?
Shit. In the woods, a stick structure is built up, and they slowly approach it, only to quickly, terrified, go running.
Man, this is why I do not go camping, bro. Like, honestly, I probably would if I had protection, you know what I'm saying? Or even national parks. Man, the stories I've heard, crazy stuff.
Have you heard the terrifying mystery of room 28-05? On an ordinary day in May, an unidentified woman called the Plaza Hotel in Oslo to make arrangements for herself to stay. And a few days later, that woman arrived at the hotel and checked into room 2805. She registered under the name Jennifer Fairgate from Belgium. She got the keys to her room, headed up, and placed a Do Not Disturb sign on the door. And from there, it's a mystery. The woman seemed to keep to herself. 3 days into her stay, the front desk realized that they didn't have a card on file for the room. So on Saturday, June 3rd at 7:50 p.m., a security guard went up to the room, knocked. A few seconds later, he heard a shot. So he runs back down to the security desk for help, leaving a gap of 15 minutes where it's unknown if anyone left the room. Security team got to the room, knocked, to find it double locked from the inside. They eventually get into the room to find that woman alone and gone. But once they started inspecting the room, the scene didn't quite add up. It appeared that woman had just gotten out of the shower. She was nicely dressed, wearing high heels. She looked like she was about to go out for the night. And when they looked through her belongings, they couldn't find an ID for the woman. She had no wallet, no keys, no cosmetics, no toothbrush, no hairbrush. And even stranger, when they looked at the woman's clothes, every single label on her clothing was removed. And even stranger, one of those bags that she brought was filled to the brim with ammunition. So, did this woman really have no ID, no belongings, no toothbrush? Or did someone remove it from the room in those 15 minutes? I'm thinking the latter. The entire scene suggested foul play, but police saw no evidence of a struggle or any sign that anyone else was even in the room besides her. All authorities had to go on was the name and address that she gave at check-in. From there, police notify Belgian authorities of this woman's case so that her family can be informed. Their response back was, who? Jennifer Fairgate? Doesn't exist. And what about the man that was with her at check-in? Go to part 2. One of the most baffling unsolved cases ever, this is the mystery of room 2805. Police find that the woman found in that hotel room, Jennifer Fairgate, doesn't exist. They got no hits on her fingerprints found in the room either. So investigators travel back to the Belgian address that she gave at check-in. They felt that this had to be a lead, as the address and phone number given led to a specific town. But when they got there and asked around, they found that nobody in the town had ever even seen this woman. So what was the connection there? And it gets even stranger. Newspapers publicized this case repeatedly. Sketch photos of the mystery woman have circulated for decades in several countries. But no one has ever identified her. And this all transpired in 1995. No leads. Everywhere they turned was a dead end. But there was one question that a front desk associate had that could break the entire case wide open.
According to her, she said the mystery woman wasn't alone at check-in that evening. She was with a man, one Louis Fairgate. She even named him on their registration paperwork.
The plot thickens. So who is Louis Fairgate?
But the bizarre thing is, no one ever saw this man again, and there was no trace of him in the hotel room. Only room service was ordered for one person, only her prints found at the scene. And police looked into Louis Fairgate to find that he doesn't exist either. So who was this man, and where did he go?
And he has never been identified either in decades.
Did Louis Fairgate slip out the door that day with all her belongings? And what happened in that hotel room? Investigators say that whoever this woman was did a really great job at concealing her identity, and say that this investigation has been like trying to track a ghost.
I say that someone made her untraceable. And the question remains, who were these people? Were they on the run or undercover? This case is mind-bending. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it definitely was a case of people just using fake identities. The reasoning though, I'm not sure. I wonder if they were just trying to do some crazy stuff like that and it just didn't work. It just went south. Yo,
I want you to take a look at this picture snapped from a group of friends back in 2012. Let me explain the haunting backstory behind this picture. It's not for the faint of heart. These friends are thrill seekers, right? So their thing is that they go to explore abandoned buildings all throughout their state in Illinois. But there was one town in particular that really piqued their interest because allegedly it had a madman who was still on the loose. One who police believed was responsible for several bodies that were found in this area, all with their heads missing, assuming that he took them with him. So they come to this town because they're planning to spend the night in this abandoned hospital in this picture so they can record content. But as the night goes on and things get darker, they suddenly get this eerie feeling like they're not alone in this hospital. But while they're exploring in the dark, they start snapping pictures on their phone to try to illuminate the rooms that they're in, and they finally start to explore the showers, which was where they snapped this photo, which was more than enough to scare them into leaving. They didn't know what that was, so they called police, who searched the hospital and realized that's not a mask.
It sure as well looked like a mask. Yo, that is some Ed Gein. You guys know who Ed Gein is? You know who Ed Gein is? Yo, Ed Gein, that's a weird dude. He was doing stuff like that. Like, I can't even explain it, bro. Can't even explain it. If you don't know who Ed Gein is, just look it up.
Bridgeworm. Bridgeworm is a creature created by horror artist Trevor Henderson, and although Bridgeworm is a made-up creature, his backstory is creepy. When Trevor Henderson released his first picture of Bridgeworm, he stated that in 2018, a photographer by the name of Thomas had recently gone missing. A while after he'd gone missing, his camera was found, and the last photo on his camera roll was this photo right here. Bridgeworm peeking through a tunnel. The story goes that the photographer Thomas came upon Bridgeworm, snapped a photo of him, and then was eaten by him. Bridgeworm tricks his victims by looking like a cute worm at first, and then his face peels back to reveal this, his true form. It's said that his favorite snack is humans, so I don't advise any of you to go near bridges at night.
You know, yeah, I've been under a couple bridges at night, and I've never seen Bridgeworm. Yeah, I wonder what if he ever pulled up on me though. I feel like I would really just handle that.
I'm gonna show you a picture and tell me how it makes you feel. There's an extremely dark backstory behind this photo, one that you probably wouldn't suspect. This was way out in Jefferson County, Georgia. This is back in 2017, and there was a lot of suspicious activity coming out of this area. This was right around April of that year, kind of near Easter time, so of course families had a lot of plans to have their family in town despite there being a lot of break-ins in this area. So very late one evening, the girl where this story came from was home with her family, her two older brothers, when it appears that she must have heard something outside of her room because she got out of bed. Because there was a smashed dish that was found at the scene, we can assume that was what she heard, so she left her room and immediately started filming, thinking that it was probably her older brother, so she was trying to make a joke. Only when she left her room, it was not her brother in the kitchen. No one seemed to hear anything, but she was found the following morning in the backyard of the home, and this was one of the final frames that was captured on her phone that was released publicly.
Yo, tell me what that looked like Freddy Fazbear from Five Nights at Freddy's. What? Yo, why did animatronics just enter her crib like that? It's a little bit scary.
This is the disturbing truth behind Got Milk. Okay, so everybody remembers the insanely large campaign Got Milk, with the message being that milk is the most nutritious thing anybody could consume. It had major celebrities backing the campaign, but what if it was all a lie? Back in World War II, soldiers relied heavily on milk to survive, leading to a huge demand in milk. However, once the war ended, there was no demand for milk at all. But the rich and powerful already invested a lot of money building up the milk industry, and they were not going to let it die. And it is said to keep the milk industry alive, the rich and powerful paid off the government to advertise milk everywhere and make it seem like milk is the healthiest thing ever. So, are the benefits of milk really true?
Is milk really nutritious, or are they scamming us? From what I've heard that it actually does have a lot of health benefits, mostly for people that have malnutrition, that didn't have as much nutrition or things to eat. Whenever they had cows and milk, it allowed, I guess, more growth or something.
Things caught in the forest. In this 2021 video, a group of friends is rowing a small boat at night when they discover they're not alone on the river. In fact, while floating in still waters, one of the guys reaches his hand into the river but quickly snatches it back as he feels something grabbing him. Scared, the crew directs the camera toward the water a few feet away, looking for the assailant, but as the guys keep observing the water, something terrifying emerges from the darkness.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, them kids was tripping, bro. Why is you can't even see beneath it's so mucky and just like yucky. You know what I'm saying? Why would you put your hand in the mud water? You can't even see what's underneath the surface. Hell no, bro. If I'm being real, if the water I'm in is green like a lake or just muddy and just icky, I'm not going in that. Not going in that.
The man smiling in this photo was arrested after hunting down and brutalizing, earning him the nickname the Alaskan Avenger. As a kid, Jason Vukovic was and physically by his stepfather Larry until he ran away from home at the age of 16. Larry was charged with the abuse but never served any jail time, and as the years passed, Jason grew haunted by his stepfather. He reached a breaking point in 2016 when he decided to use his state sex offender registry to track down criminals, break into their homes, and beat them with a hammer. In 2018, Jason was sentenced to 28 years in prison and has since come out apologizing for his actions. He says that vigilantes have no place in society and warns that just because your past was taken from you, you shouldn't ruin the future that you have ahead.
Now, with someone like that, you can kind of tell that they've been through a lot. Like, he literally said that in his past, he's also been through some stuff. But I wonder how long he got sentenced for, though.
Why is found footage always this creepy? If you don't know the story of Shannon Barlow and the footage that she caught, she was a pretty well-known documentary filmmaker in the early 2000s right outside of North Carolina. She very famously went into the abandoned hospital in City Center where she would film her last video. She never returned from that hospital, so police went searching and they found her camera and focused on the footage where they selected this frame. I looked at it and I'm like, why this frame? What is important about it? And if you look to the background on the right, you'll see it. In the right doorway of this hallway, there is a man who is watching her as she filmed this. Despite an investigation, her remains were never found, but there was evidence of a struggle, so it suggested that she didn't survive this. The enhanced video footage is the only visual that we have of who is believed to be her assailant.
Can you do how to summon Eyeless Jack? Disclaimer, Eyeless Jack is just a fictional creepypasta character. He cannot actually hurt you. So I've done the story of Eyeless Jack, how he takes people's kidneys in the middle of the night. The story goes that you'll see him looming over your bed like this, and then he'll take your kidney. Well, it is said that there's a way to summon Eyeless Jack. In order to do this, you have to lay down in your bed and hold your stomach where your kidneys are. Then you have to close your eyes and whisper, "Eyeless Jack, take my kidney." After you say this, then you open your eyes and look out your bedroom window. When you look out your window, you should see Eyeless Jack entering your house. It's said that after he takes your kidney, your wound will disappear. It'll heal completely. There will be no sign that anyone ever took your kidney. Once again, disclaimer, this is just a creepypasta story. There's nothing to be scared of.
Yo, ain't no way that's a real thing. Yo, I could just imagine there's someone out there that actually did that. Yo, why would you want to do that, though? That just doesn't even make sense. He's like, Eyeless Jack, take my kidney. What? I want my kidneys took, bro. Get out of here.
Disturbing things caught on dashcam footage. This man was returning home with his car when suddenly...
What the fuck? Whoa, 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 get back. What the oh, fuck, get the, what the
This car was certainly not expecting this. Again, another unexpected event on the road. This man was peacefully driving when suddenly...
Yo, the fact that it jumped again after jumping already into the car, nah, that was hilarious. It was like some video game glitch, like you just keep spamming jump, like jump, jump. But nah, some of those clips were strange though, I'm not gonna lie. And the lightning hitting that woman's car or guy's car twice, scary stuff.
How do 3 men disappear at the exact same time? This is the mysterious disappearance of the 3 lighthouse keepers. In the late 1890s, the Flannan Isles, a group of rocky islands off the west coast of Scotland, commissioned a lighthouse to be built on Eilean Moor. 4 lighthouse keepers were assigned to it and would work staggered shifts. But there were always 3 keepers there at any given time, working weeks on and weeks off. In December 1900, 3 of those lighthouse keepers arrived for their usual shift. James Ducat, the primary keeper with 20 years experience, along with Donald MacArthur and Thomas Marshall. These 3 Scottish lads were tough and very experienced. Everything was thought to be fine until December 26th, a ship visited the lighthouse in a routine visit. When they arrived, they were shocked to find the light was off and the lighthouse was completely empty. And the 3 keepers had disappeared. Strangely, nothing on the island or in the lighthouse looked amiss, no signs of a struggle or indication of any accidents. They did find that the fireplace hadn't been lit in several days, and bizarrely, all the clocks inside the lighthouse had been stopped. The area was searched up and down, but no sign of any of the men. It was like they vanished into thin air. Found in the lighthouse were the logs documenting the keepers' final days, which were pretty normal. One strange detail noted in the logs were in reference to the horrible storms and winds they had been having. This was odd, as locals reported no bad storms recently. But by far the strangest part of those logs were that the keepers seemed a bit off in their final days. Morale was low amongst the men. Marshall wrote that Ducat had been very quiet and Donald MacArthur had been crying. These men were veterans, and thus it would be very strange for them to be crying in response to storms. The final log entry was made on December 15th, stating, quote, "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all." Another strange finding, one of the keeper's jackets was found inside the lighthouse, which meant he went missing in the midst of a harsh winter with no coat. Many were stumped by their disappearances, but some not so much. According to Scottish legend, these islands were thought to be haunted, so much so that travelers would make a point to never ever spend the night there. So what happened to them? One theory suggests that maybe the men were swept to sea in an accident. Another theory is that one or more of the keepers could have suffered a psychological break from reality. In the logs, it was evident that something was off with the men. Were they hallucinating these storms? The bouts of crying and isolation, did something go down between the men? This unsolved mystery has haunted people for years. What do you think happened?
Mark had a daughter who he loved more than anything in the world. She fell in love with a farmhand named Jim. But the farmer didn't think that Jim was good enough for his daughter, so in an attempt to keep them apart, he sent his daughter to live with her uncle on the other side of the county. Soon after she left, Jim got very sick, and unfortunately he wasted away and died. Everyone said that he must have died from a broken heart. The farmer felt so guilty about Jim's death that he couldn't bear to tell his daughter what happened. So she continued to hope that someday her and Jim might have the chance to be together. One night, many weeks later, there was a knock on her uncle's door. When the girl answered it, Jim was standing there. He told her, "Your father asked me to come get you, and I came on his best horse." Not knowing what was wrong, she jumped on the back of his horse and they rode away together. Soon into their ride, Jim began complaining of a headache. The girl put her hand on his forehead and said, "Jim, you're cold as clay. I hope you're not getting sick." She then wrapped her handkerchief around his head. Within a few hours, they had reached the farm. The girl quickly jumped off the horse and knocked on her father's door. But her father was surprised to see her. "Didn't you send for me?" she asked. And he said, "No, I didn't." The girl turned to Jim, but he was gone, and so was the horse. And when they went to the stable to look for them, they found the horse there covered with sweat and trembling with fear, but Jim was nowhere to be found. Terrified, her father told her the truth about Jim's death. They quickly went to see Jim's parents and decided to open his grave. There, his corpse lay in his coffin, but around his head, they found the girl's handkerchief.
Now, opening someone's grave is crazy. That'd be so scary. Imagine you're someone you knew and you're just looking at like, I don't know, I couldn't do it.
Alright, so Reddit user Circlestone says, "My aunt is a nurse and told me some stories, but this one stuck with me. There was an old lady who insisted on being strapped down at night in her bed. She told my aunt that there was a dark figure that was trying to grab her and take her out of her room, where she would die. My aunt and other nurses oblige, and for the next few nights she would check on her, and it would look as though someone was trying to pull her from the bed randomly while she slept. My aunt is then off, and whoever is this lady's nurse doesn't strap her down at night. Nurses found the old lady dead, laying on the floor by the door, her hand stretched out past the door and into the hallway.
What's up? These are the most horrifying ways to die. Part 1. Number 1, death by a neutron star. Now you may be wondering, what is a neutron star in the first place? Well, it's basically a star formed after a gravitational collapse of the remnant of a massive star formed after a supernova explosion. And it's got a mass bigger than the sun, and it's about the size of a city. Now, if you ever find yourself in space and end up falling into a neutron star, there are a couple ways you could die, so let me just go ahead and get right into them. Now, most likely, you're probably going to die from radiation, but if the star is smaller or quieter than usual, you may have some free fall time. Alright, so the first way is that if your head was facing the neutron star, you're going to get pulled stronger than if your feet were facing that way, and you're basically going to get pulled swiftly into the star and basically ripped in half. Alright, the last one, you're just going to be stretched until you're a big puddle of human plasma, and you could possibly generate a very lethal gamma radiation that could kill us all.
Neutron star, yo. Yeah, I don't think any of us are gonna get death by neutron star anytime soon or anytime ever, if I'm being real. But like, if I was, or if you was, oh my gosh, that would be so tragic. It'd be kind of scary. I feel like if you didn't have a spacesuit, first of all, you'd be dead by just touching space in general. But like, getting spaghettified, hell no, dude.
Have you heard the craziest conspiracy theory about Ellen DeGeneres that is so dark, especially after what they found in her house? As you know, Ellen has been described as an evil and devilish person to work with at The Ellen Show. Staff would describe their experience working with her as being ran by intimidation, fear, bullying, allegations that employees were being SA'd and touched by higher level executives, and Ellen knew about it. While hosting her show, Ellen was also tied to the Illuminati after repeatedly flashing the symbol. It's also interesting that her set matches the building on Epstein Island with white and blue stripes, gold touches, and palm trees. She's been frequently closely tied to the lizard person conspiracy theory. Even her home staff described her as evil and would say that her true personality comes out at home, and it's worse than anything you've heard she's done at work. Look closely at this video of Ellen at home because it could expose evil and devilish parts of her private life. If you saw in the background of that video, through the glare of the window, you can see this painting that says evil thoughts and it's a devil's face. The artist who made that painting, who's been dead for a long time, painted a lot of Satan worshipping pieces. Not to mention this symbolism directly on her sweatshirt while she's broadcasting. Then look at another photo of Ellen sitting in her house with a painting in the background with suspicious symbols on them that are eerily similar to symbols you use in satanic worshipping rituals. The scariest one of all these is of Ellen giving her mother a haircut, and look closely at the painting behind her. I believe it says RIP on the bottom above her mother's head. Before I tell you the craziest part about all this, make sure you follow so you finally know all the craziest conspiracy theories about each of these celebrities and request who you want to see next. All of these different pieces and paintings found are from different artists, so why does Ellen always go out of her way to find this type of dark symbolism to express?
Well, you know, what I will say is that's quite interesting. I don't know why she just didn't pay me to draw those paintings. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I could have did a wonderful job at drawing those paintings. That's just me. I don't know. Like, what y'all think? You think I could have? I think I could have did a wonderful job. She could have paid me that $100,000 to paint those. Like, come on now. I feel like a lot of artists have like a devilish symbol nowadays. I feel like that's just the normal, like, just to be like a devil worshiper. I don't know, bro. Me personally, nah. But like, if that's the wave nowadays, I mean, I don't even know, man. Check the chains down in the description. Remember that the Google form where you can put your strange, creepy, and scary stories down in the description. Keep them PG. Keep them short and to the point. Check the link down in the description. It's going fast right now. We got free shipping on the chains. If you guys like the chains, just please check them out. A lot of people have been buying them. And let's just jump right into the video.
Things caught at hospitals. This 2020 hospital footage shows an employee inside a hospital's laboratory while minding his own business with the rotary evaporators. Suddenly, one of the jars of distillate inexplicably falls off the table, breaking on the floor. Upon noticing the broken jar, the employee leaves the room to tell his supervisor about what just happened. Not amused with what he's witnessing, the supervisor dismisses the employee, who leaves the room in anger. Shortly after, another employee arrives in the room to clean the spilled distillate when suddenly, another jar appears to inexplicably move on its own towards the end of the table.
Honestly, that kind of looked like a setup to me. What do you guys think that was? Put it down in the comments.
This story keeps me up at night, and it's a real one.
So in the early 90s, a woman named Jerry went to a psychotherapist named John Mack because she was having recurring nightmares of UFOs. Then one night, her 2-year-old son started screaming in terror in his room. She ran in to check on him, and he claimed that owl monsters were touching his legs. And when she asked where the owl monsters were now, he claimed that they were in a boat in the sky. So Jerry starts thinking that maybe her family is being visited by aliens. She kind of brushed it off at first, but then one night her daughter has this experience. She was practicing reading for school and she had to time herself in 10-minute intervals and see how far she could read. So she's timing herself for 10 minutes, marking how far she read, timing herself for 10 minutes, marking, timing herself for 10 minutes, and then she looks up and an hour has gone by. There's 50 minutes of time she can't account for, which apparently is kind of common in people who have been visited by aliens.
Nah, 10-minute intervals is crazy. Like, I wonder what school homework or project she had to do where they time you for 10 minutes. If you ask me, that's kind of a waste of time reading. Like, just read the book.
I'm telling you, they just get freakier and freakier the further you go. What I'm about to show you was a photo that was taken by this woman. Her name is Sierra Kench, and she was doing a summer job at Meadleby Jorg High School. Like, just during summer sessions, where basically she was just patrol security, right? And she would do it on after hours until one day, she heard something in that school. She would end up taking this photo, which she sent to her boss, saying, I think there's someone in this school, even knowing that within this picture, she had actually captured the person who would take her life. Zoom in a bit closer, you can see it much more clearly who was hiding behind that door. And she didn't respond. Her direct manager, another security officer, he comes to the school where he is attacked by the same man. He actually ends up surviving the attack, which is exactly how we got this police sketch. The oddest part about it is that nobody ever seemed to recognize who this was or what their motive was, why they were in that school, leaving her attacker's identity and whereabouts a mystery.
I've seen so many videos of people that actually capture footage of something crazy before it happens, and I'm pretty sure that's just one of them. If that dude tried to do something to me, he's gonna R.I.P. her too, though.
Terrifying signs that you won't believe actually
exist.
This container transports a disease which has no cure. Stay out, no divers beyond this point. No swimming, very cold, deep water. You will die. 128 people have drowned in this lake, 2 wearing a life jacket and 126 not wearing a life jacket. No trespassing, we're tired of hiding the bodies. This property is protected 24/7 by security cameras and 20 or more wolves.
Yo, the Wanderer said no trespassing, you will die. That's scary. That's a good way to keep people out of places. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Just tell them straight up, like, yo, you go in here, you're dead. You're done. You're donezos. It's over.
This is what would happen if these things disappeared for 5 seconds, part 1. Up first is oxygen. If oxygen disappeared for 5 seconds, it wouldn't be good at all. Your ears would burst because the air pressure would drop by 21%. And not only that, all concrete buildings would then turn to dust. This is because without oxygen, nothing could hold the concrete together. Finally, every single plane will begin to fall from the sky, and all the water would disappear from Earth. And keep in mind, that's only 5 seconds. Next up is the sun. If the sun disappeared for 5 seconds, every single asteroid, planet, and moon in our solar system would start flying into outer space. This massive gravitational change might knock Earth out of the habitable zone, which could lead to a lot of other problems like not having life on Earth.
That's just 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds. Let's take a 5-second countdown right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, that was nothing. But if oxygen disappeared for 5 seconds, our brains would explode? Question mark.
5 pictures with disturbing backstories. A woman posted this picture on Snapchat moments before her boyfriend shot her in the head. The crew on their way to board the Space Shuttle Challenger, which broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members. The Omagh bombing. The red car in this photograph contained a bomb which killed 29 people and injured 220 others. The man and child survived. The photographer didn't. Photograph by R. Umar Abbasi. The freelance photographer took the picture of Ki Suk-hon just moments before the man was hit by a New York subway. This photograph was recovered from Japan Airlines Flight 123 after it crashed. In total, 520 passengers and crew were killed, only for survive.
Yo, Shorty said strap chat? I'm not gonna lie, that's the one that stuck out to me the most. Like, why would he do that though? If it's loaded, why would you point it at your own girl? Come on, man. But anyways, add me on Snapchat right here at NOTFITTIE. Thank you.
Here's some of the creepiest videos
on the internet.
Part 10. The popular American rapper XXXTentacion was murdered on June 18th, 2018, and his death broke the hearts of many. Many people visited his memorial to leave gifts, but some people captured much more. The YouTube channel The Fam recorded a video trying to communicate with its beloved rapper, but accidentally captured this. But someone else got a lot more than this. The YouTube channel Selva the Explorer got to speak with him through her spirit box. Here's some things he had to say.
What is your favorite song that you ever recorded? What's the name of your favorite song? Are you in the white light? Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really believe that once you die, you can just communicate back with humans. With the, like, is X just gonna be chilling in his grave for the rest of eternity? Just like, yeah, I'm chilling here. Y'all want to ask some questions? I'm dead, by the way. I don't know. I don't really believe in that. That is kind of strange, though. I'm not gonna lie. R.I.P. X.
Scariest things caught on.
Yo, what's the music in the background with her face looking like she's like upset or something? I don't even know what she's looking like.
Has accumulated.
One of the most beautiful and one of the most haunted. In 1892, a mysterious young woman who only identified herself as Lottie A. Bernard checked into San Diego's Hotel del Coronado. She arrived on Thanksgiving Day alone. She was using a fake name and said she was meeting a gentleman there. And many believed that this was a secret lover. But days passed and this gentleman never showed. Hotel staff found the mystery woman lying near the beach one day. She had decided to end it all. Police realized that Lottie Bernard didn't exist and couldn't find anything to positively ID the woman. And through newspapers, she became simply known as the Beautiful Stranger. She was later ID'd as 24-year-old Kate Morgan. And ever since, hotel visitors and employees alike have reported ghostly encounters. Coincidentally, many of them in Kate Morgan's room, hearing a woman's voice, footsteps, TV, and lights flickering on and off. Most chillingly, the ghost of Kate Morgan herself has been seen in the hallways and along the shore where she passed. To this day, the story of Kate Morgan, the Beautiful Stranger, fascinates guests, and her room is the most requested in the hotel. I visited the Hotel del Coronado a few years back, and it is one of the most beautiful hotels, but I didn't see Kate. Have you ever been, and if so, have you spotted the Beautiful Stranger?
These are the scariest curses to use on people in real life, part 4. Up first, to perform the next curse, you need a white piece of paper and a pen. Then draw a circle in the middle of the paper, and then prick your finger with something sharp, and put a drop of your blood in the middle of the circle. Next, write the person's name that you want to curse around the edge of the circle, until it wraps all the way around. Then say the name of the person that you want to curse is dead 2 times. The person you curse will either get a very severe illness but survive, or will suffer from a terrible accident and die. But if the person you curse gets a mysterious illness and survives, then you will die in a terrible accident within the next week.
Hey man, before y'all go doing that, just remember what he said. If they don't die, you die. I don't really believe in curses like that. But if you guys do it to someone, let me know.
This is the face of Ronald Poppo.
a homeless man who's been brutally attacked by a living zombie. On May 26, 2012, he loses his eyes, eyebrows, nose, lips, and face to a man named Rudy Eugene. 80% of his face is eaten on the side of a highway in Miami, Florida, and authorities assume the suspect is having a bad trip due to a new drug on the market that turns people into real-life zombies. However, when the test results come back, the drug report stuns everyone involved.
A real-life zombie? Zombies ain't even real. At least not yet.
I think about this true crime case every year around the holidays. On Christmas Eve 1945, the Sauter family house burned down in West Virginia, and only 4 of the 9 children home that night made it out. The cops told the parents that all 5 children must have died in the fire that night, but when they did a search of the area the next day, no remains were found. Like, absolutely no evidence of the kids being in the house was found. So then fast forward a year, and the dad sees a photo in a magazine of a little girl in New York who looks identical to his daughter Betty. But then the authorities in town are like, you're crazy, there's no way all the kids died in the fire that night. And then a little while after that, the authorities actually get in trouble for planting evidence in the rubble saying that the kids died in the fire. And then fast forward another 20 years, and the parents actually get a letter in the mail with this photo claiming to be their son Lewis, but are never able to find any more information about who this is.
I don't even know if I've ever heard of this, the Serlin Farm. I don't even know if I've ever heard of this, the Serlin Farm Massacre. The case is really connected to this photo, which was taken by the youngest son of the family in the cornfield outside of their farm in 2012. But if you look closer at this, I can guarantee you'll spot what's wrong with this image. Hidden within that cornfield is who police believe might have been the person stalking their farm when the son went out and took this picture. The Serlin son actually took this photo and sent it himself. He sent it to his older brother and he said, I swear to God I hear somebody out here. Can you please come outside? Making this the last image that was ever sent from the family on the evening before both the brothers and the parents were found brutally beheaded in this cornfield. This image is really confusing because not all investigators believe that this is the person or this is even a person who was caught in this picture. Many of these investigators think that this was some kind of an optical illusion caught in the camera, but what do you think?
Alrighty, you guys asked for it, so here it is. Let's talk about coffin windows, otherwise known as witch windows. These windows are a common feature in many farmhouses around the United States, but are mainly popular around the East Coast and specifically the state of Vermont. And they have earned a spooky story over generations of history. The generations worth of stories speculate that these windows are angled perfectly so that a witch on her broomstick is unable to fly through and snatch up children. Obviously, this is quite the tall tale, but it's believed that the actual purpose of these windows is still quite spooky. While some people grew up hearing that these windows were built specifically to allow evil spirits to exit the house, others have heard that these so-called coffin windows actually comes from the idea that undertakers would take this route when having to remove a body from the upstairs portion of the house in order to avoid carrying the body down a narrow staircase.
I mean, if you ask me, both sides are kind of weird. The witch one, that seems more like a folklore, but like the Undertaker one, why would they? I mean, I don't know, man. If you guys think you know, put it down in the comments.
True crime, the Black Dahlia.
Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia. Black Dahlia was an American woman found murdered in the Lemur Park neighborhood of Los Angeles on January 15, 1947. Her case became highly publicized due to the gruesome nature of the crime, which included the mutilation of her corpse, which was bisected at the waist. On January 9, 1947, Short returned to her home in Los Angeles after a brief trip to San Diego with Robert Rhett Manley, a 25-year-old married salesman she had been dating. Manley stated that he dropped Short off at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and that Short was to meet her sister, who was visiting from Boston, that afternoon. By some accounts, staff of the Biltmore recalled having seen Short using the lobby telephone. Shortly after, she was allegedly seen by patrons of the Crown Grill Cocktail Lounge at 754 South Olive Street, approximately 600 meters away from the Biltmore. On the morning of January 15, 1947, Short's naked body, severed into 2 pieces, was found on a vacant lot on the west side of South Norton Avenue, midway between Coliseum Street and West 39th Street in the neighborhood of Lemur Park. At the time, Lemur Park was largely undeveloped. Local resident Betty Bersinger discovered the body at approximately 10 a.m. While walking with her 3-year-old daughter, she alerted the police. Short's severely mutilated body was completely severed at the waist and drained of blood, leaving her skin a pallid white. 3536 medical examiners determined that she had been dead for around 10 hours prior to the discovery, leaving her time of death either sometime during the evening of January 14th or the early morning hours of January 15th. The body had apparently been washed by the killer. Short's face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, creating an effect known as the Glasgow smile. About 60 people confessed to the murder, mostly men, but including a few women. However, 24 people were considered to be viable suspects by the Los Angeles County District Attorney, Carl Balsiger. The case still to this day is unsolved.
You know, one thing I gotta say is I never understood the people that actually didn't do the crime but wanted to be convicted of the crime that they didn't do. Like, what's the point of just being like, you know, I did it. I, in fact, was the one that did this to her, when you actually weren't. Like, do you want to spend time in prison, bro? And honestly, I feel like people really should get some type of punishment for just lying like that. Like, bro, what are you doing with your life? Like, I mean, it was tragic, but RIP to her, man.
Here's some of the scariest things that have been caught on camera. Part 7. This video captured on a surveillance camera shows a seemingly simple taxi stop. As the man walks towards the car, a translucent black mass follows him. This figure, which seems to depict a woman with long black hair, follows the man into the cab, but dissipates into the side rather than just getting in. Before this video was released, a massive tsunami hit Japan on March 11th, 2011. Many people say that this is just bad quality of a woman getting in as well, while others believe that this was one of the victims of that horrific day.
Yo, shorty just went through a brutal tsunami just to get into a taxi cab with some dude. She didn't really do anything more than just get into the car. If it was a ghost or if it was whatever, it really didn't do anything. So I don't think we should really worry about it.
Oh my god. I want to talk to you about this image, and this image specifically. Tom Mitchum. That is the photographer who took this Polaroid in 1999 in an abandoned warehouse. Right off the bat, I don't think this picture screams terrifying, but there is something about it in context that is chilling. So Tom Mitchum, very, very young photographer, impossibly hard to find a picture of this guy. He has a thing where he takes Polaroids in abandoned houses. Except he went to an abandoned factory for this, where at the factory he takes like over 200 Polaroids, and then he takes them all home, thinking that he did that entire trip alone, until he fixates on this picture. A woman who was sitting there in the dark in this factory, and he was completely alone. He has no memory of taking a picture of a person, no idea who she is. And he's given interviews on this, and he says in part, this is why he stopped doing his work. He could never explain how he captured this. Was this a person who was really there, or was this something else?
These are the scariest curses to use on people in real life, part 3. Okay, to perform this curse, you have to go outside at midnight with a glass cup and make sure nobody is around you. Then say the person's name that you want to curse 10 times over and over again. Next, take the glass cup and throw it on the ground. When it shatters, count how many pieces it's in. And the number that you get is the amount of days it'll take for the person you curse to die. Now pick up every single piece of the glass, but be very careful. Because if you cut yourself with the glass, the curse will then be put on you.
Just like the curse I said earlier, man. Y'all would have to do that at your own risk. If y'all want to get cursed, amen.
You know what I think it's time for? Another scary story. This is the mysterious disappearance of the Roanoke colony. The oldest mystery in the United States, the lost colony of Roanoke. An entire group of settlers vanished without a trace. In May 1587, a group of 120 settlers made a plan and left England. They sailed to Roanoke Island off the coast of what is now known as North Carolina. They arrived 2 months later in July 1587. We complain about TSA and airport lines, but travel back then took a long time. The governor of Roanoke was named John White. He was an artist and an explorer. But within the first month, the settlers of Roanoke started facing attacks from local Native American settlers. They were on the brink of starvation. They needed help, so they enlisted John White, the governor, to head back over to England to bring over more settlers, food, and tools. So, just a month after arriving to Roanoke, White sailed his way back to England, leaving his group of 120 settlers, including his daughter Eleanor and his granddaughter Virginia. The timing was horrible, though. When he arrived back in England, they were on the brink of war with Spain, so he was unable to get back to Roanoke for 3 years. Finally, in August 1590, White arrived back to Roanoke. When he arrived, he was shocked to find the entire colony had vanished. Roanoke had been deserted. Now covered in weeds, the houses had been taken down and stripped of their materials. The only clue left was the word Croatoan carved into a post and the word crow carved into a tree. Croatoan was the name of an island south of Roanoke, which was home to a Native American tribe of the same name. Desperate to find his family and colony, White traveled down south to the nearby Croatoan island, now known as Hatteras Island, to search for his settlers. He sailed down twice, hitting horrible storms both times, and had to turn back. He was unable to get a boat to look for a third time. He was devastated and confused. What happened to his colony? He went back to England and passed in 1593. He never knew what happened to his daughter or his granddaughter. Some thought they might have been attacked, but no remains were ever found, and this was a big group of people. The mystery of this is that there is no solid evidence that the Roanoke colony ever made it to Croatoan. Excavations of the area haven't led to any findings that can be linked directly to the lost colony. They just vanished. Many believe something supernatural happened, and for my American Horror Story fans, this is referred to a lot in the series. What do you think happened?
It's kind of hard to say, but I remember talking to someone like how long travel really used to take back in the day. Like now you get on a plane, you could be like anywhere within, a couple hours, like the longest, maybe 1 or 2 days, like longest, probably not even 2 days, honestly. But I'm just saying, like, with a group of people that big, it is kind of hard to not know what happened. But at the end of the day, this is like the 1500s we're talking about. So anything could happen and people could just hide the bodies. People could have got lost. It's kind of hard to, just communicate or track their locations like it is nowadays. So realistically, they all could have just either died or got lost.
Have you heard the crazy conspiracy theory that says every single time Beyonce begins one of her world tours, a massive music icon dies? This theory begins with the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Beyonce embarked on her I Am Sasha Fierce world tour starting in March 2009, and Michael Jackson died in June 2009. Right when Beyonce announced her The Miss Carter Show world tour in 2012, the queen of disco, Donna Summers, died. Then, right before embarking on that same world tour, queen of vocals, Whitney Houston, died. It gets crazier because in June 2014, when Beyonce and Jay-Z began their On the Run world tour, legend of soul music Bobby Womack died in June 2014. Literally right as Beyonce began her Formation world tour in April 2016, Prince died, also in April 2016. Right after Beyonce and Jay-Z began their On the Run 2 world tour in June 2018, Queen of Soul Aretha Franklin dies in August 2018. Seeing her pay tribute to a fallen music icon at each of her tours is getting a little bit eerie. And the craziest part is that fans were already predicting who was going to be next right when the Renaissance tour was announced. Before I tell you the most recent music icon on this list, make sure you follow so you finally know the craziest conspiracy theories about all your favorite celebrities and request who you want to see next. Beyonce began her Renaissance World Tour in May 2023, and Tina Turner died in May 2023. And right on cue, Beyonce paid tribute to her.
Man, I don't know what to say about that. I feel like Beyonce just knows. It is kind of strange though how like a lot of famous people died like almost every single time she announced it. It could be a coincidence, but I don't know. You never know what's going on with these famous people nowadays, honestly.
Did you know that New York rats are actually different from any other populations in the world? In fact, these rats can actually be divided into 3 different subpopulations, and this includes the uptown rats, midtown rats, as well as downtown rats, each with its own unique characteristics. And just like people, these rats tend to have their own neighborhoods and generally stick around the same place. For example, there's huge genetic differences between uptown rats as well as downtown rats simply because of the barrier between them. Midtown often serves as a barrier and prevents rats from migrating from one area to the other. And Midtown itself isn't rat-free, however, it's harder to move around due to the lack of food as well as shelter. This means that Midtown itself produces rats that are smaller compared to other populations due to the scarcity of food. And New York rats as a whole has evolved to have a longer nose as well as a shorter upper teeth row. Most of this is a response to the colder climate as well as a softer, high quality diet. And historically speaking, New York City had both brown rats as well as black rats. However, the more aggressive brown rats pretty much phased out the black ones. New York City itself is often voted as the worst rat city in the world. And many of these rats carry pathogens that cause diarrhea, vomiting, and fevers in humans. And a study in 2023 found that there's roughly 3 million rats in New York City, roughly 1 rat for every 3 people.
Yeah, that's crazy. I knew for a while New York City actually had a war on rats, but I don't know, man. Sometimes I go to the city because I'm from New York and I'm just like, yo, do I really want to trust this food right now? Like, you know how much rats were probably on this? I don't know if you've ever been to New York City, but the rats there are freaking huge, dude. Like, if you've ever seen a squirrel or a mongoose, I don't know where you're from, but the size of those rats are like literally the size of squirrels, dude. Like, they're huge. They're not no baby. Like, they're scary stuff in the city, man. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Remember to check the chains out down below. If you guys like the video, please like the video, subscribe. I've checked out some of you guys' comments about my in-person content, visiting scary, abandoned, and just explore content in general, like vlogging it. And you guys actually support that idea. So sometime in the future, probably next 1 to 2 months, I'm gonna be making my first in-person content, and it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna make sure it's lit if I'm not dead. Thank you guys for watching. Please watch the next video, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.